Get ready with me as I talk to you about my unfortunate experience with Will from Love Island. So in 2021, peak COVID, I saw Will on TikTok and I thought he was adorable, and so I slid into his DMs on Instagram, thinking he wouldn't respond, but he did. We had a scintillating conversation. After a bit of banter, I told him that I actually go to London quite a lot to see family, and so it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility for me to see him in the future. My friends were also pretty impressed by him. So when I was in London that summer, we made plans to get drinks and he was going to come down to London and we were going to hang out. And this was around the time of the World Cup, so he was with his friends and I was with my friends, and once we saw each other, we kind of separated from the group and were in our own little world. Immediately he was being so coupley, but I really liked it. I was smitten. He was spinning me around, twirling me and being you're so beautiful. Gross now, and he was saying stuff I already feel there's this connection between us, I know we just met, but I'm really feeling we're getting along. So we rendezvoused back to where he was staying. But before I left to go back to my place, he called me an Uber home and he's I really want to see you tomorrow after the game, let's go hang out. So idiot me canceled my plans that I'd had for the next day, and I thought we were gonna hang out, but he never showed up. So I called him and he wasn't answering, and finally he's oh, I left my passport at the pub, sorry, let's reschedule. For the sake of time, I'm gonna graze over the parts where he blew me off several other times. And I know what you're thinking, Laura, let the man ghost, he doesn't want you. Whenever he blew me off, he'd insist that he did want to see me and that his excuses were legitimate, and I believed him. So my family and I were going to go to Scotland and then go back home to California, but Will's please extend your trip and come back after Scotland to London, and we're going to hang out. You're going to come to the farm. We're going to spend the weekend together. I'm going to make up for all the times that I accidentally blew you off. And stupid me was yeah, let me do that. So when I get to London without my family, I try to make plans with him and he takes forever to respond, and I'm only there for a week. So I was Will, I'm running out of time. Are we hanging out? Am I going to the farm? What's up? After me spending the entire week sitting in my room being depressed, he finally is can't, said some excuse. Cue the waterworks. I felt so used and embarrassed. But they always come back, ladies, and Will is no exception. For part 2.
Okay guys, that was just part 1. There's another 2 of these to go. So let's press on, shall we? Part 2.
Get ready with me as I talk to you about my unfortunate experience with Will, part 2. So when I was back in London a few months later in December, I was at brunch with a friend and I posted a Snapchat story. Literally seconds later, guess who Snapchats me? Yes, I have a screenshot because you bet I sent that in the group chat. He goes, are you back in the UK? Didn't answer. So he goes, would love to see you. So I said, why would I make time for you after last time? He said something along the lines of, that was a unique situation that summer. I had a lot going on, let me make it up to you. So he said, I'll take you to the farm like I promised last time and you can meet the pigs. To which I said, hell no. You can come to me and make the trek to London and we can get drinks and we'll go from there. Keep in mind that when I go to London, it's mostly to see family and family friends, so I don't have a lot of going out friends there. And I really felt you know what, I have nothing better to do, A. B, I also like the idea of getting free drinks and listening to Will grovel. So we made plans. He was going to come to Camden Station and we were going to get drinks on X day. We loosely decided on meeting in the early evening, but he couldn't give me an exact time until he looked at.
Why are you eating? Why are you eating during the video? Who wants to see that?
Trains, which he told me he was doing. He's I'm looking at trains right now. So the day of, I start getting ready and I get out the shower and I message him, hey, so what time are you coming? No response. Meanwhile, I'd posted several stories after I'd sent him that message, a couple hours went by, and he viewed every single one of them. He never answered, but he was viewing my stories literally the entire evening, was the first view. He was just sitting on his phone watching my stories. Ended up just going to get drinks with my cousin who I'd recently reconnected with that summer and had fun. This part though was really not fun. And before you come at me to laugh at me for deleting messages and messaging multiple times, I have pretty intense anxiety, A. And B, why are we blaming me? Like, can we focus on his wrongdoing? Like, it's really weird. So New Year's happened, we're in 2022, and that summer he sends me this. I'm sorry for the jump scare, I was scared too. And like a handful of months ago, like I'd say like 4 or 5 months ago, he Snapchat messages me and asks me if I'm gonna be in London again anytime soon. To which I said, are you kidding me? And he's like, let me make it up to you next time you're here. And I said, no. In fact, you don't have to see me in person to make it up to me. Apologize now. And he goes, sorry.
Now here's the final video in which she kind of answers a few questions.
So it wasn't your traditional case, actually, of we hook up and then like I don't hear from him again. It was like him FaceTiming me, him calling me all the time, him trying to make plans. And it's just when the plans came about, he like flaked and had some excuse. But it was like he was the one driving those plans. He was the one initiating those plans. For example, one of the stories I grazed over was that he was going to a music festival with friends and he told me he bought me a ticket and he asked if I'd be down to go if he bought me a taxi. So here's him saying he got me a ticket and offering to get me a taxi. And he's denying even standing me up, but like the story is that I was like asking him for the details of the event and like he was drunk and didn't end up answering. And if this were a one-time thing, I would be like, yeah, like he was drunk, like he lost his phone. Like I would give him the excuse. But the fact is like he flaked multiple times. And on top of that, like begged me to come to the farm and stay with him. Like begged me. Like, I don't know who does that when they want a ghost or they're not interested. Maybe you guys would have seen like right through it, but I guess you're more intuitive than I was. Like replying to my stories after we hooked up, saying like he owes me lots of brunch and time with the pigs, asking for like details about my date, like the date I'm gonna be back from Scotland. This is him saying like he lost his phone when we had brunch or we had the festival. I lose track of which times. And him reiterating that he wants to hang out and him giving me specific dates. Like, I'm sorry, this like was not a classic story of like we hook up and then I don't hear from him again. Like, this was weird. This was really bizarre. Also, like to people saying like I should have known better, like it was obvious. It's really easy in hindsight to recognize red flags, but at the time, when you're excited about someone, red flags just look like flags, to be honest. But also, like, I didn't want to admit that I'd been used and discarded like a Kleenex. Like, that's hurtful. I wanted to believe that he wanted to see me. Also, like, in general, like, when I see women comment this stuff, it's like, really, it's giving internalized misogyny. Like, also, if you ever feel the urge to comment something mean, like ever in life, don't.
Yes, this is all about Farmer Will. Apparently Farmer Will had a romantic tryst with this young lady on TikTok. They spent the night together and then she's accusing him of ghosting her. This is a bit of a weird one because it's obvious something happened and then Will got cold feet. But what I find very strange about this is that even though Will got cold feet and was probably relieved when this young lady left the country, because he probably thought, well, okay, I didn't have to confront anyone or break anyone's heart to their face, she's left the country now. When she comes back to the country and when she shows herself on social media, he interacts with her again, as if he hadn't learned his lesson the first time. So she kind of comes back and he still shows interest in her and then does absolutely nothing about it. Now, if you've been watching Love Island like me, you're probably quite enamoured with Will. He's a very likeable character in the show. He's got enthusiasm, he's got dynamism, he's just like a bundle of energy, and he's very hard to dislike. This does show odd behaviour, I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. And if I'm being really, really honest with you, don't hate me for saying this, I do find his behaviour on the show quite erratic. He seems to go from being quite calm and quite docile to suddenly being this uncontrollable force of energy that's borderline embarrassing sometimes. And I do wonder how Jessie's going to cope with it should their relationship go to a more serious level. I do wonder what was going through Will's head, though, a bit in this particular case. It seems like all he had to do was just message this young lady and say, look, I'm not really interested in any sort of relationship. I'm sorry if I appear to have led you on. Let's draw a line under it. No hard feelings. And yeah, forgive my behaviour. But he didn't. He kept kind of coming back. And also, you notice she talked about the way he was lovey-dovey really, really quickly, love-bombing her really, really quickly, just like he did with Jessie, in fact. So there is a similarity. He obviously has done this kind of thing before, so maybe this is like a Will trait. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Does it affect the way you feel about Will? Do you care that much? Do you still think Will is brilliant, wonderful, super-duper, etc.? Or do you think, yeah, this doesn't bode well for any woman who he gets in a relationship with? And let me know what you think about him as a whole. I like you say, I like him, don't get me wrong. I'm just finding him a bit strange sometimes, and I'm wondering whether he's okay or whether he is kind of, I don't know. I can't say it because I don't really know what to say. I just think sometimes I wonder, okay, he doesn't have an off switch. He doesn't obviously have a self-editor either. He just blurts stuff out and behaves in a way that I think is, well, I don't know. I can't say it, so I've got nothing to say. I'll just end the video here.